Just something fun on the side is when I was doing my research for this interview, I came across a paper talking about organoid intelligence. There's apparently an organoid intelligence community out there. It's kind of crazy. You want to explain what that is? Just really
Yeah,
briefly for the audience?
that absolutely. Yeah, that is a big audience and a growing audience. So if you think about what I said of making these things play Pac-Man, what we're doing is we're stimulating one part of this brain, and then ultimately we're shocking it in certain ways to tell it you did something good, so a reward, or you ran into a wall, you did something bad. And that causes this miniature brain, the neural networks to rewire. So it literally changes the way they connect with each other. That's the building block of learning, like I said. And so you can pretty easily extrapolate if you make these things complex enough and they're able to rewire and learn, where is the threshold for intelligence? And I think the community is doing a great job of debating that, discussing that, making sure it stays ethical, but it's something that you do need to talk about. And I'll say one of the other aspects of organoid intelligence, our brain is the most powerful computer, the most powerful processor out there. So if you can
Absolutely.
harness these mini brains to utilize their processing power, you can start to replace some of your traditional power grid, electrical generation, fossil fuels, all of that. And with AI, we just need more and more storage, more and more processing power. So can you do that in this small scale that is more powerful than anything we've built before?
Yeah, I always said our brain is a lot more powerful than the quantum computing that people are working on right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably underpaid relatively to that.
That's safe to say. Yeah, where a computer can do a lot, basically in parallel, it's not able to iterate the way that we are. It's not able to have that complex learning. And that's just something that we can do much more energy efficiently.
Yeah, fascinating. And when you were talking about the story of founding 28 Bio, you mentioned some timeline, which I think it was interesting. You founded the company in 2014, right? That's what you mentioned. But
Yes.
actually, I think the US government started to be very interested of shifting away from animal testing, I guess, as early as 2000. And then 2020, which coincidentally was the pandemic timeline, they started this iStand, right? An innovative science technology alternative, or I forgot what it stands for, but that's basically so. And then you also have these customers who you say are desperate. Are they desperate because the failure rate is so high, or do you think the policy is also driving part of that need
I
from
think
the
right
market?
I think right now it has been because they have a problem that needs to be solved, and they're able to go a certain amount of the way to using these in conjunction or instead of animals for internal decision making. So they don't go to the FDA or run FDA studies until they've chosen, let's say, the one version of their drug that they're convinced is going to work. So they adopted technologies like ours early on to work from thousands to hundreds to tens of versions of a drug and select the one. So that's why they were able to adopt that originally. But it becomes a much bigger market when you get into that level of study that everyone is required to do for the FDA. So there's some pharma companies that were comfortable using this before the regulations changed, and there's some that are waiting on that. And it's taken a long time to get there. The iStand program, like you said, it has existed for a while. It's just now hitting its stride. So this is a way of the FDA to work with companies like 28 Bio, like liver chip, lung chip, and basically say, let's design a study together to say, if you generate this data and it shows that you are accurate, then we will say this is cleared to be in the FDA filings. So then the pharmaceutical companies have the green light, right? They know that the FDA is going to look favorably, assuming their data is good, on it. And so that's going to really open up the floodgates, I think. It's still, early. They had their first company go through it. It was a company called Integral Molecular. they designed this experiment. They ran all the data. They worked with the FDA to analyze the data. And they basically said, okay, you can utilize this. Basically, they want to look at, is a drug going to hit the wrong tissue? So tissue cross-reactivity. So it's a relatively simplified compared to an organ on a chip. But the first company called Emulate got their liver on a chip, basically their LOI, letter of intent, accepted in 2024. They worked with the FDA to design the experiment. They launched that, formally generating the data. And from what I hear, they're packaging up the data right now. So I think we'll have our first MPS model, having gone through this program, and there are many other companies now working on this. CN Bio, there's a consortium of liver chip companies, and so I think the floodgates are getting closer. They're starting to open, let's say, and yeah, it takes time, but biology takes time, and the FDA kind of understandably does need to be conservative because there's real implications if they use the wrong tool.
Absolutely.